Hello and welcome to PalaceFanTV for our Chelsea preview. I'm Jim Daly. This is Palace's first game of the new year and it's against Chelsea at home at Selhurst. And to discuss that, I've got a Chelsea fan. It's Dan Childs from 100% Chelsea and son of Chelsea. Dan, how you doing?
Doing okay. Recently football's not been that good, but I'm doing good. It's the Chris. I'm still in kind of the Christmas spirit. Looking forward to the new year. So yeah, I'm okay.
So I guess we'll talk about Jose first because obviously
Yeah,
Jose's departure just before Christmas. Did that ruin Christmas for you?
I wouldn't say it ruined Christmas for me. I think for the day it happened, I was very annoyed, and I think the kind of the positive or bittersweet thing was the game we had on a Saturday against Sunderland pretty much gave fans an opportunity to kind of express their opinions on the situation. I wouldn't say it ruined Christmas. Sure, it was a little bit bitter, but I mean, we 2 weeks removed from it now. I think still upset. I still think it's the wrong decision, but if I look at it rationally, just if I take off my Chelsea kind of hat or just look at it from the perspective I have of the love for Jose, maybe in some ways it was the right decision. Whether it was right long term, getting rid of one of the best managers in the world, I don't think is a good decision. But if you look at the way players reacted, now I think long term, in the next 5 or 6 games, we're going to see if it was the right decision. Because if players start to step up and we see an improvement in performances and results, then I can look at it and go, sure, we didn't like it. Sure, it's not a good move seeing one of the best managers we've ever had, the best manager we've ever had, in my opinion, go out the door. But if players start to improve, then maybe it was the only option because you can't really sack 25 players. Really, I mean, in emotion, you want to sack all of them for some of their performances this year. But it didn't ruin Christmas. It's still a little bit of thing, but at the same time, you've got to move on as a
How
fan and just support the team.
do you think, as a result, now that a lot of teams have sort of lost that fear of playing against Chelsea? It seems
I
now
think
that any team can come up against them and feel confident of getting a result.
I mean, if you look at the first part of the season, teams had lost fear of like us at the start of the season, pretty much. I think it's a trend around the Premier League. I don't think it's just something you can put directly on Chelsea. I think
Hmm.
if you look at it, the investment within Palace are one of the prime examples of this. The investment that's been put into the Premier League through the TV money really has impacted the league. Now,
Hmm.
uh, something that I saw when I went to Old Trafford on Monday and I saw that game, there, Man United Chelsea 0-0. Now, those are supposed to be two of the best clubs in this country. Now, personally, I thought the quality of football was quite poor on that
Hmm.
day, and I think we've seen a continuing trend. In terms of the Premier League, I think it's one when people say it's the best league in the world, I think you're in a way that's a bad way of putting it. It's the most competitive league in the world. I think that's what people miss. It's not technically the best. It's not in terms of the players we have in the league. None of our players compare to Messi, Neymar, and Suarez. If you look at those three, there are some players on their level, but very few. And also you got players like Ronaldo. You look at Bayern. So
Hmm.
I think yeah, definitely there has been a shift, and especially with Chelsea, I've seen it this season, seeing them up close so many times this season. It is a case where teams across the league now are coming up to Chelsea or we go to their grounds and they think, hang on a minute, we can get at them. And because of our poor form, that has kind of helped that. You see Bournemouth, a team like that, they had a
Hmm.
strategy when they came to the bridge. They weren't scared to play football. And eventually they got their just rewards by getting the goal in the end. I don't think it's just a trend you can say. You can say, yeah, in just individually, you can say teams don't fear Chelsea anymore. But I think it's more of a case that teams just don't. I don't think anyone fears anyone else in this league, really. If you just look at it on paper, I mean, Southampton smashed Arsenal 4-0 the other day. Um, that just proves to you that this league is crazy this moment. The Premier League is drunk at the moment, pretty much, and you have to
well,
look at it
well,
like that.
it is Christmas,
Yeah,
so maybe it's the Christmas
yeah.
hangover. You're right, it is a bit crazy. And Palace, of course, really were the first team that went to Stamford Bridge and inflicted a shock result
Yeah.
this season on Chelsea.
I don't think it was a shock, even at the time. I wasn't.
Really?
When I remember the game before it was West Brom. I think it's our only away win this season.
Hmm.
So that's a collector's item. So I was there, so I can say that. But I remember coming out of that game. I remember sitting on the coach and thinking we're in trouble next week, Palace. I remember thinking, and I'm not saying this in hindsight. I remember thinking that.
Yeah.
Sure, it is a shock, but I wasn't shocked when it happened. In a way, I was just shocked that we hadn't improved, that there was no reaction.
Hmm.
And but if you look at Palace, the quality of players within your team, and also the fact is you really are set up to play away. I mean, you've gone to Anfield this season, one day you've come to Stamford Bridge. if you just look at the stats, I mean, I think you are better away from home than you are actually at home. I think you've won 5 out of 9 away games, I think it is, or
Mm.
I think it's 4 out 4. You've only won 4 out of 10, I think, home games, home Premier League games this season. So you've won more away games than home games, which I think makes much more sense because if you look at the way Palace are set up, they
Yeah.
are set up more of an away team. You've got players like Zaha, Balassi, Pace, and also getting Kabaya in the summer was a real masterstroke from Pardew because now you've got a player in there who can dictate the play in the middle of the park. And is that a good enough quality? I think also we were just talking about the fact that the Premier League is kind of what do you call it a has become more kind of closer between teams.
Mm.
Every team now has a player that could feature in one of the big four, or
Mm-hmm.
a player that everyone would want. I think from Palace, there's a few. I mean, I'd take Balassi. I think he's a quality player, quality winger. Uh, Also, Kabay in the middle of the park. It was a bit of a shame when I saw him go to PSG and didn't get utilised, which I think most of us expected. So to see him come back to Palace, I think it is good to see, and I think positively in terms of the league, I think it is more positive to see a higher quality of players in the so-called smaller teams. But then you kind of have to redefine that because if a team like Palace is sitting fifth, what is it, 3 or 4 points off of fourth place?
Mm.
You kind of have to change that. Sure, in terms of size of the club and sure size of the ground, but if this league is going to be like that, just even if it's just this season, I think it has sent shockwaves, and I think the fact of the TV money is only going to improve teams like Palace and only going to improve teams around them. So, I guess in terms of a neutral perspective, I think it has helped the league out massively. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think the quality of players within your team is very impressive.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is no Balassi on Sunday. He's injured for a bit, as is Connor Wickham. Our problem at home has been that when teams have come and been defensive, we've struggled to break them down because we've just had a Chelsea youth team player leave Palace in Patrick Bamford,
Yeah.
who cancelled his own loan deal after not getting much game time. A lot of Palace fans are sort of waving him goodbye and don't seem that fussed because he didn't really have an impact. But how did Chelsea fans feel? 'Cause I think Chelsea fans were quite hopeful that he would play at Palace
Yeah.
and would come back a better player.
I mean, I saw when I came out the ground on Monday, I looked at my phone and I saw he's left. And actually, I was quite happy for it because, number one, he wasn't getting any game time.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason Chelsea sent him out on loan was to get him Premier League experience. He'd pretty much gone from MK Dons to Derby to Middlesbrough. The next progression in that kind of loan cycle, you call it, was to get Premier League experience at a club like Palace under a good manager like Pardew, in kind of a positive atmosphere. It's a bit of a shame that he never really got that chance. I mean, reading his kind of comments about the situation, kind of being quite frustrated with the fact of looking at it and going, I was never really talked to. Now, I don't know how true that is. I do think it's a bit. If it is true, I think it's bad on Pardew's part. But then we never know. We never know these situations, what actually went down. In a sense, if you, I'm sorry, we keep on going back to the same thing here. But a few years ago, even 2 years ago, a player like Bamford probably would have walked into the Palace side, or got much more. The fact that the quality of Palace's side has increased in years is going to make it more difficult, like players like Bamford, to get into teams like Palace
Mm.
because the quality within the first 11 is at a higher level. But then again, I mean, the thing he points out is players like Wickham haven't been scoring loads of goals, so why didn't I get more of a chance? He got 45 minutes on Monday against Swansea. I know he had one of the best chances of the game and didn't take it. So would that have changed things? I don't know.
I think you're absolutely right. I actually think Bamford was just the wrong player for Palace at the wrong time. And actually, him going back to Chelsea, I think, could be a blessing in disguise. I think he actually should be playing for Chelsea and should get a chance. You're exactly right. A lot of your attackers aren't performing, so why not give him a go? I think it actually might work out for the best for him. Let's move on to prediction then. How do you think the game's going to go on Sunday? What's the score going to be?
I think if I'm being realistic, well, I don't know. I mean, we haven't lost since Mourinho's gone, pretty much. So I'm sure the majority of Chelsea fans are looking to this game and kind of thinking, "Oh God, it's going to be another bad day at the office." I think realistically, I think looking at your recent form, it hasn't been amazing, but still, I mean, I think you're undefeated in the last 6 games, which is
Mm-hmm.
one of your best runs you've ever had at a club. So we can't expect there to go to Palace and roll any team over currently within our form and also the quality within your side. Um, 1-1 I think is kind of in my I always have like two predictions. I have like the prediction in my head, which is more realistic and logical, and the prediction in my heart. Prediction in my heart says we could go there and win 1-0 or 2-1 and get a really good result and start 2016 off of a bang and really claim that our players are returning, but I'll go more realistic because I think we've got to show respect to Palace. They're fifth in the league. We're 14th in the league. Let's be realistic here and say Palace are a good side. You've got good players. Even if you don't have a player like Balassi, there's still enough quality within that side to hurt a team like us. So I'll say 1-1. I'll be
Okay.
realistic.
I think that's. Do you know what? I think 1-1 as well, which we'd be happy with because there is no Balassi, there's no Wickham as well. Unfortunately, he's injured. Sacco's injured, so we are down to the bare bones a bit. But I think a 1-1 would be a good result for both sides, to be honest, and I'd be perfectly happy with that. And that'll kick off 2016 for me in a very positive way. So Dan, thank you very much for joining me, mate. Really appreciate
No
that.
problem.
And a
No
happy new
problem.
year to you, mate.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Good man. So you can check out 100% Chelsea and Son of Chelsea. Links will be below this video, so check them out. Well worth checking out. Don't forget to subscribe to PalaceFanTV if you haven't yet. Comment below what is the score going to be on Sunday. Are Palace going to get a home win against Chelsea? Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Snapchat because I'll be doing snaps of every game this season. So that's it. Happy New Year to all PalaceFanTV viewers. Hope you have a great Happy New Year's Eve, whatever you do, and we'll see you in 2016. Cheers.